Shopping malls in America in the 1980s were everywhere. Sears and J.C. Penney anchored every major suburb. The Limited, Chess King, and Sam Goody competed for teenagers. Food courts expanded into every climate-controlled concrete palace. The mall was not just convenient, it was part of American culture. The 1980s were peak mall. Specialty stores were the technology. The building was a physical destination. Shopping was a social event. Teenagers planned entire Saturdays around it. Malls were woven into weekly life, weekend hangouts, after-school meetups, and birthday trip routines. This was before Amazon, before online shopping, before same-day delivery. Going to the mall was a full-day commitment. It was the undisputed center of the American universe. Let's walk through what going to the mall was actually like in America in the 1980s. Let's step into that world. Walking through the doors. The moment you push through the heavy glass doors, the outside world ceased to exist. The temperature dropped to a perfect 70 degrees regardless of what was happening outside. No rain, no heat, no wind, just climate-controlled air and the hum of 1,000 conversations. The architecture was designed to disorient you. Massive glass ceilings let natural light pour down onto fountains and giant tropical plants lining the walkways. Some plants were real, some were very dusty silk. Either way, they created the illusion of an indoor paradise. The atrium opened above you. 3 stories of chrome railings and glass elevators. The scale was intentional. You were supposed to feel small. You were supposed to feel like you had entered somewhere significant. The mall delivered on that promise every single time. The neon glow filled the mall. Storefronts competed with each other through pure visual aggression. Neon pinks, blues, and yellows flooded the corridors. Every sign was designed to be louder than the one next to it. The Limited used soft lighting and mirrored walls. Chess King had purple neon and aggressive music. Spencer's Gifts was dark inside, with blacklight posters glowing in the window. You could identify every store before you reached it just by the lighting scheme and the music spilling into the walkway. No 2 stores sounded or looked the same. The chaos was the point. Overstimulation kept you engaged, kept you walking, kept you spending. The iconic storefronts. The mall was built around specialty stores. Before Amazon and big box retailers dominated, specialty stores were kings. Sam Goody, Musicland, and Camelot Music were where you spent your allowance. You would flip through bins of vinyl records and cassette tapes. The top 40 wall showed what was currently charting. You would stand there for 20 minutes debating which album to buy. The Limited was where you bought your neon windbreakers and acid-wash jeans. Chess King had members-only jackets and parachute pants. Benetton had bright colors and a European attitude. Radio Shack had primitive home computers you could actually touch and use. The Commodore 64 sat on a counter, playable, right there in the store. Sharper Image had plasma balls. You would press your hand against the glass and watch the electricity follow your fingers. You could spend an hour in there without buying anything. Spencer's Gifts was mandatory. It was dark inside. Lava lamps, blacklight posters, and slightly edgy adult humor items filled the shelves. Every teenager wanted to go in. Parents sometimes objected. KB Toys had Cabbage Patch Kids, Transformers, and G.I. Joes stacked to the ceiling. If the toy existed, KB had it. Mall rats and the circuit. The mall was the physical Facebook of the 1980s. Teenagers did not text to see where their friends were. They simply went to the mall because that was where everyone was. The meetup spot was always the fountain. Saying "meet me at the fountain at 2" was a binding social contract. If you were late, there was no way to find your friends other than walking the entire loop 3 times and hoping you crossed paths. The circuit was the core social ritual. Groups of teenagers would spend hours walking laps from one anchor store to the other, Sears on one end, J.C. Penney on the other. You would walk slowly, deliberately, scanning for people you knew, seeing who was out, being seen. The circuit could last 3 hours without entering a single store. Mall walking happened early in the morning before stores opened. Senior citizens in tracksuits used the climate-controlled hallways for exercise. They would be doing serious laps at 8 in the morning while store employees unlocked their gates. The mall belonged to the old in the morning and the young in the afternoon. The food court. The 1980s saw the birth of the food court as we know it. This was revolutionary. You could get pizza, tacos, Chinese food, and a soft pretzel all in one shared seating area. The concept was new. The execution was chaotic and perfect. Orange Julius was the defining beverage. That frothy, orange-flavored drink was everywhere. You carried it around the mall like a prop, like a signal that you belonged there. Cinnabon pumped the smell of cinnamon through the vents deliberately. The scent was engineered to pull you in from 50 feet away. It worked every time. Sparrow had the oversized, greasy pizza slice. You'd carry it on a paper plate, one hand underneath for structural support. The cheese would slide. You'd try to hold it level. You'd always lose a little cheese. Hungry teenagers with no money had a strategy: the free sample circuit. Bourbon Chicken and Hickory Farms both handed out toothpick samples. You'd loop the food court slowly, hitting every sample station, a full meal assembled from toothpick portions. No purchase necessary. Entertainment beyond shopping. You could spend an entire Saturday at the mall without buying a single piece of clothing. The multiplex cinema was inside or adjacent with 4 to 6 screens. This is where everyone saw Back to the Future, The Breakfast Club, and Top Gun. You would see the movie, walk out into the mall, and immediately want to talk about it with anyone nearby. The arcade sat in a dark corner, Pac-Man and Galaga sounds echoing into the walkway. It was a neon-lit cave full of teenagers and quarters. Celebrity sightings happened at the mall. Pop stars did mall tours. Tiffany and Debbie Gibson performed on temporary wooden stages set up in the center court. Thousands of fans would pack the atrium, and security would struggle to maintain order. Seeing a pop star in person at your local mall was a genuine cultural event. Glamour shots arrived toward the end of the decade. It was a studio where you could get big hair and heavy makeup applied by a professional, then pose for photos that would make you look like a model. The results were usually spectacular in all the wrong ways. Every family has at least one Glamour Shots photo buried somewhere. Sensory overload. The 1980s mall had a specific smell. Heavy perfume was everywhere. Drakkar Noir and Giorgio Beverly Hills mixed with popcorn from the snack stand and chlorine from the decorative fountains. The combination was overwhelming and distinctive. If you smelled it today, you'd be transported instantly. Sound was constant. Muzak played overhead in the shared walkways, instrumental versions of pop hits, soft and inescapable. Inside each store, the actual songs played loudly. Walking in and out of stores meant your soundtrack changed every 30 seconds. Flooring and textures told you where you were. Thick plush carpet inside department stores. Cold hard tile on the main walkways. The transition was physical. You felt it through your shoes. No technology, no navigation. The 1980s mall was a disconnected world. If you needed to call your parents for a ride, you found the bank of payphones near the restrooms. There were 10 or more phones in a row. You had to have a dime. The paper directory was your only navigation tool, a massive backlit map stood on a stand. "You are here" was marked with a red dot. You studied it, trying to orient yourself and estimate the walking distance to your next destination. Everything was paid for with cash, check, or a credit card run through a manual imprinter machine. You heard the clack-clack sound of the imprinter pressing your card details onto carbon paper. The cashier would tear off your copy, pink or yellow. You folded it and put it in a bag. The fountain ritual. Every mall had a central fountain, tiered and loud, surrounded by carpeted seating. People would sit around the fountain for hours, just watching other people walk by. You would toss in a coin and make a wish. Everyone did. Over time, the fountain collected enormous amounts of change. The water was always slightly green from the coins. The fountain was the social center of the entire building. First dates happened at the fountain. Friend groups formed permanent attachments to specific benches. The fountain was where you waited, watched, and existed in public. What defined the mall in the 1980s was the combination of commerce, entertainment, and community. The mall was not just shopping. It was a destination, an event, a social infrastructure. You went without a specific purpose. You wandered, you discovered, you talked to people. The climate control made it comfortable year-round. The variety made it endlessly interesting. The scale made it feel significant. You were not just buying an acid-wash jacket. You were participating in American culture. For people who experienced the mall in the 1980s, the memories are specific. The smell of Cinnabon mixing with Drakkar Noir. The sound of Galaga echoing from the arcade. The weight of an Orange Julius in your hand. Standing at the fountain, waiting for friends who would never arrive on time. Watching the plasma ball respond to your touch at sharper image. Doing laps of the circuit for 3 hours. Seeing Tiffany perform on a temporary stage in center court. The clack of the credit card imprinter. The "You Are Here" dot on the map. The 1980s were peak mall. Before e-commerce. Before big box stores. Before online everything. Just neon storefronts, food court samples, climate-controlled hallways, and American teenagers treating a concrete building like the center of the entire universe.